You've shown a lot of versatility over your 10-year screen career, but it all started for you in 2007.
As I understand it, Susie Figgis, the casting director from the UK, who's fantastic, and I owe her a great deal, was looking to cast two young boys in a film, an independent film called Son of Rambow, Rambo with a W at the end, and they came around to my school, I think, at a kind of sort of last-ditch attempt to find who they were looking for. Just because, as I say, my school wasn't necessarily a performance school, and they were also looking for a young sort of Cockney kid. So they were typically looking in the East End of London, and they hadn't sort of come west at all. Anyway, I was literally in I believe an English lesson, and my very eccentric, lovely drama teacher, Laura, slammed a piece of paper on the window with audition at 3 o'clock written on it. And she was doing this through the window. And I'm trying to sort of pay attention, going, okay, got it. Trying not to get in trouble. And I'm there, and for the next sort of, 30 minutes or whatever it was, and it felt like forever, I was thinking, I'm going to go on an audition. I've never been on one of those. What is that?
And I've got to get out of double French at 3 o'clock.
And that's what I was excited about. And I went, not thinking anything would come of it, just kind of excited to perform in front of a camera for the first time in my life. They filmed the audition. And then I kind of kept slipping through the net and going through these different phases, and ended up sort of chemistry reading, as they say, with the amazing Bill Milner, who is the son of Rambo. And I just remember my mum getting a call one day after this sort of final stage of the audition, and my mum was on the phone in the kitchen, and she just said, "He didn't." And they said something to the effect of, "He did," and then she said, "He didn't." And my mother said that maybe 14 times before she put down the phone, which, not that she sort of doubted me, but it was, an amazing, unthinkable sort of thing to happen. And I was very lucky, and I proceeded to have kind of the best 8 weeks of my life shooting it. And I'm very lucky that my entry into the industry was as wholesome and kind of well parented, by Garth Jennings and Nick Goldsmith, the creators. And Son of Rambow just became this sort of kind of little engine that could and did. It was wild.
Well, talk about an astronaut. You were virtually, on the shuttle next, because you go on to the Chronicles of Narnia franchise with a role in Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So you, as a kid, I understand, were a huge fan of sort of Narnia. What was it like finding yourself as part of this magical world?
Really bizarre, I mean, I kind of don't pay much attention to the budgets of a film, but it was kind of strange going from a movie that we made on the sort of lunch budget of Narnia to this huge gigantic set on the coast of Australia, and I was 16, and it meant that my mum and my sister and my dad for some part had to move with me. My older brother and sister actually stayed home, but that really does, I think sort of exemplify just how supportive they were of me. They literally packed up their lives and moved to the other side of the world, about as far away from London as you could get. And it was an amazing opportunity. I'd seen The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. It's one of the most kind of cherished sort of works of children literature, or just literature, in history. So to be in the film adaptation of one of those books was wild, and it was a very maturing experience. Michael Apter, the director, didn't really treat me like a kid. You might argue he might well have, but I got the opportunity to kind of be an adult on that set, even though I was playing a real kind of juvenile brat. He didn't actually give me a lot of praise, and didn't really put his arm around me. In a way, he sort of forced me into a position where I had to prove my worth, and at the end of a take, it was a head nod, we're moving on. It wasn't a kind of mollycoddling sort of situation, and I'm really grateful for that. That kind of tough love and more adult interaction was really helpful.
Another A-list director, Catherine Bigelow, who you just mentioned, hires you for Detroit in perhaps not the most obvious role for you as a redneck, racist, bully boy cop.
Right.
And I mean, you were so completely hateful in that movie. I feel I should move the chair a bit sort of like further away. First of all, how much of a gift or a challenge is it as an actor to play such the opposite of yourself, a character, I presume, with such psychopathic tendencies, you can't relate to him in any way?
You know, I've played less than likable characters before, but I think it was virtually impossible to find an entry point into this character because there was nothing that I could really relate to. There was no element of his psychological makeup or personality that I recognized in myself, and there was much less that I could respect. You know, even when I've played less than likable characters, I've been able to identify something, and I think you hear a lot of actors, and understandably so, talk about the need to sort of respect their character. I think the second I kind of over-distilled the racist rhetoric down to it being a kind of self-righteous ignorance, because that's effectively what it is to me. I mean, racist people are wildly misguided and some of the most misinformed human beings on planet Earth, and they've learnt this poisonous behavior. They've been taught this mythology about people of color and the threat that they supposedly pose to white people. The second I realized that my character thinks he's right, wholeheartedly, and the thought that he might be entirely wrong does not even cross his mind, I was onto something. And you see it echoed in society, you know, all too frequently. And you can go on YouTube and you can watch interviews with individuals who think the same way as my character, and they operate today, you know, in society. They walk among us. It's terrifying. So unfortunately, there was enough material there in the research process to start building the flesh around the skeleton that was Kraus. And by the way, that does a disservice to what was an incredibly well-formed character on the page, actually. You know, Mark Boal, the writer, takes a kind of journalistic approach to his writing, and everything is so well-researched and so well fleshed out. I mean, this character jumped off the page as a monster already, really. It was sometimes as simple as just saying the things that he said, using some of that dehumanizing language and that wildly misguided talk.
How do you reflect on the journey you've made, and what's your vision of the next 10 years?
I don't know. That's what's scary. I really don't know. You know, I have remained very aware of how lucky I've been up until this point, and I don't want it to slip away. I'm keen on, as I say, trying to be, you know, fulfill my potential as a creative, and I don't mean just as far as what I can offer entertainment-wise. I think as far as sort of, you know, speaking to what's going on outside of the walls of the movie theatre. And, you know, I very luckily just worked with Lenny Abramson on a project called The Little Stranger. We're actually reunited with Donald Gleason, which was fantastic, and Ruth Wilson's in that project, Charlotte Rampling. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing in that one. I'm very lucky. That's coming out next year, and beyond that, you know, I'm kind of waiting to see and find out. But just keen to, you know, keep working hard and heap up every opportunity that comes my way.
Well, we look forward to everything you do in the future.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.